Fred Hampton, why was he killed? Because he was about to unite the poor what? The poor blacks and the poor whites, working class. And so by the time Martin Luther King showed up with his Poor People's Campaign in 1967, right? In 1968, King was talking about poverty, guaranteed income. What does guaranteed income mean? That's welfare. That's socialism. That's rob from the rich and give to the poor. He was talking about jobs and housing and economic rights and federal government obligation to help poor people. That's communism talk. That's not capitalist talk. That's not the talk of our ancestors. Our ancestors knew goddamn well white folk wasn't going to help us with a darn thing coming out of slavery. They took our watermelon patches. You understand? They wasn't helping us with nothing. They wasn't giving us anything. They would take something from you. You see what I'm saying? But again, this is where our leaders were. And see, that was a major shift from civil rights to economic redistribution. Think about that. That's a big shift. You went from helping black people to saying we're going to help all people and the poor. What are you talking about? And then even when we talk about somebody like the Black Panther Party who took that trip to China, they went even further. They were openly socialists and Marxists and anti-capitalists and revolutionary in their language, okay? How are you going to be anti-capitalist in a capitalist country? Think about that, okay? They were talking about food and prison and housing and healthcare, education. Y'all supposed to be protecting black people getting beat up by the police, and you didn't went too far. You see, and that's why they became a political target, not because they were stopping some cops in Oakland from beating up black people. That wasn't what it was about. Hell, even at their breakfast programs, okay, and their survival program, that wasn't just charity. They were giving a political education to people who were in the, starting with the children. They were teaching children, black people, that the state owed them a handout because the system had robbed them. And socialism and Marxism repeated a basic mantra. The rich have too much, the poor have too little, and the government or the revolution must take from the rich and redistribute to the poor. And in the context of foundational Black American, listen, are you learning something? In the context of foundational Black America, when socialism said take from the rich and give to the poor, many black folk heard take from rich white people, okay, and that robbed us and give us some of that back. That's what they heard. And that's how legitimate grievance gets converted into dependency ideology. But the ideological trap came when that debt became a permanent mindset. You see, the government owes me. Somebody type entitlement in the chat room. Somebody type the rich owe me. White people owe me. The system owes me. So I don't have to build until somebody gives me something. And that's where the poison enters. A demand for justice becomes a posture for dependency. A claim for repair becomes an excuse for not to produce. A historical debt becomes a cultural habit of waiting. Now, let's bring it all home. Somebody say, bring it home, Uncle D. Somebody type, bring it on home. Now, combine all that with y'all's favorite party. I ain't talking about the party at your birthday party. I'm talking about the Democrat Party. All right? Now, look, I'm a registered Democrat. And you all know I voted Republican. Well, I ain't vote Republican. I voted for Trump, okay? That doesn't mean I'm going to keep voting for Republicans on the president level, but I voted for Trump because at the point where they open this border, which is about 50, 60, 100 miles from my house, and these people start flooding up here and little girls is getting unalive, I'm like, no, this has got to end, okay? I'm just saying, y'all can call me mean, nasty names. I done sold out because I voted for Trump. Y'all liked Trump back in the 80s when he was in all those rap songs and when he was in Home Alone. But bottom line is, I'm a lifelong Democrat. I don't tell you how to vote. I tell you to vote your interests, okay? But now, when we combine all of that you heard with the Democrat Party's political welfare model, the setup becomes almost perfect. This didn't happen overnight. It happened over decades and generations. The first major federal foundation was the Social Security Act of 1935, signed by Franklin Delano Roosevelt. Okay, that law created aid to dependent children. It was called the ADC. which was originally designed to help poor children in homes where the father was dead or absent or incapacitated or otherwise unable to support his kids. We can't let the kids, somebody type FDR love the kids. Somebody type love the kids in the chat room. All right, and at the beginning of this kind of program, it wasn't imagined that it was going to imagine as a permanent political identity. It was supposed to be a safety net for little kids. We're trying to feed the kids. But over time, that safety net became something way bigger. So here we are. Let's fast forward to 1962. Congress changed the name of the ADC, or Aid to Dependent Children, to Aid to Families with Dependent Children, the AFDC. So we not just help kids, we help the whole family now. And that change matters because the government was no longer just talking about dependent children. It was now openly talking about families and family structure and social services and public assistance and government involvement in the household. The government has now got in your business. Somebody type Zaddy in the chat room. Somebody type Zaddy in the chat room. Zaddy is now in your business. Okay, so the same year they came up with the Public Welfare Amendment in 1962, and that expanded this federal reimbursement for social services and opened up more welfare-related services to former and potential AFDC families. In other words, the federal government was becoming more deeply involved in your domestic life of poor people. Okay, and it then came to the 1960s. And you got Lyndon B. Johnson. He announced the war on poverty. Somebody type war on poverty during the State of the Union address. On August 20th, 1964, LBJ signed the Economic Opportunity Act of 1964. That law created an expanded programs tied to community action, job training, youth programs, education, and poverty relief. Somebody type more welfare in the chat room. Somebody type welfare. Next year, Congress passed the Food Stamp Act. You know those little books with the little pink books you see people count? Hang on, $10. Here you go. I hope y'all never sold them food stamps. I'm gonna put y'all on the list. If I find out any of y'all sold some food stamps back in the 1980s, if y'all was out there buying food stamps from crackheads in the 1980s, you're wrong. You're wrong for that. Okay, you're wrong for that. I'm gonna put you on the what's the PPL loan hit list. But anyway, so food stamps popped up in 1964. Congress passed a major Great Society legislation, including elementary, secondary education, and housing, urban development, all that good stuff. Then they came up with Social Security amendments, which created Medicare and Medicaid. This stuff just popped up. Your grandparents didn't have it, okay? But by the mid-1960s, the federal government had entered the space of poverty. So they got poverty, housing, food, education, healthcare, employment, family structure, social services in a way it never been done before. So now the government is your zaddy. Somebody type zaddy in the chat room. Zaddy. Anybody who can't spell zaddy, zaddy. Not daddy, zaddy. The big government has become your zaddy, okay? They all in your cha-chas, all right? They might as well be making love to your baby mama. They are giving her everything she needs. She got a place to live. She got food stamps. She got milk for them kids. They coming by with the truck with the big block cheese. Who made a grilled cheese sandwich with that big block USDA cheese? I know you did. But anyway, black people black people been locked. I want you to understand now, it's 1960s. Black people, we've been locked out of land, okay? Y'all ran us off grandma's farm. We can't join the union. The neighborhoods are bad. The schools are bad. Can't get a job. Banks won't give us a loan. We can't even use the damn water faucet or the damn swimming pool. No political power and no basic legal education. And our leaders have been brainwashed with socialism and told that we're owed something. Somebody type, we owed something, right? We are primed and ready. You understand me? It's Saturday night. You done brought that gal some roses and some chocolates, a little bit of that cheap wine from the liquor store. She primed and ready. That's what the black community was. Y'all was primed and ready for the Democrat Party. Y'all was ready. Somebody type ready. We ready. Come on now. We was primed and ready. We believe they owed us something. We did. And then the government came along and said, we're going to help the poor. And we was the poor. We're gonna fight poverty. And we was impoverished. We were into poverty. We're gonna provide food and housing and healthcare and jobs and education and social support. And that sounded like justice to Black people who had been denied justice.